Congratulations, you have a listing. Now what? We're going to talk first about the exclusive right to sell. This is the very first 9-page document within the packet of the entire listing agreement. Please refer to the listing checklist video for all the other documents you may need. So for the exclusive right to sell, this is the first one that signifies that the sellers are choosing you, the owners are choosing you to represent and list their property for sale. Now, as we go through this, it's 9 pages. One of the best practices for you to do is really read this. Pull this document, read it ahead of time, understand each paragraph to be able to answer questions that your sellers may ask you when you're on the appointment. Now, as we go through this, in the very first line, you'll see names. Every name on the deed must be on the seller's line and must initial and sign the entire full contract. If you're unsure if there's multiple names on the deed, you can go to a website called SDAT, S-D-A-T, put in the address and it will show you all the names associated with this property. As we go down, you'll notice filling in the address, the broker information. You do not want to leave blanks blank. As we go down, you'll see property listing, the broker again, that name, the property address that you are listing, and then is it in fee simple or ground rent? In the state of Maryland, some properties in Baltimore City and PG County have ground rent. Most properties outside of those locations are in fee simple. If your sellers are completely unaware, you can also go to SDAT, S-D-A-T, or a website called MD Land Rec. MD Land REC. That will tell you when you list the property whether it is fee simple or ground rent. Listing terms. This agreement shall be effective on. Now, you're going to put the date of whenever you're going on the appointment to get the sellers to sign this form to say, yes, you are my agent. That does not mean that they're listing it or it's going active that day. It just simply means that you can now represent them when it is ready to go active. And then the second blank here is the expiration. Best practices somewhere between 6 months to a year out. You can always do shorter, you can always do longer, just sharing best practice. Can terminate. You again do not want to leave things blank and open for interpretation. Can terminate with 5 days written notice. 5 is again as best practice out there. You can have 3, 4, 5, 7, pick a day, whatever day, pick a number of days, however many you like. Recommendation is to not do less than 3 because giving yourself notice or giving them notice allows you time to maybe salvage the listing for yourself. Maybe there was just simply a miscommunication. You can call the sellers, talk through it, and save the listing for you to continue working. Number 5, listing price. Now, the listing price, the market determines the price. However, you and the seller will determine what it's going to be listed for or to start listing it for. Doesn't mean that's what it's going to sell for, just is the starting price. Now, when you go on the appointment, you may put a price in here. However, let's say that it doesn't go active for another month from now. The market may change, so you're probably going to want to do another market analysis. And if it did change and your sellers and you do agree on a different price, very simply cross this out, write in the new price, your sellers will initial next to it. Showing instructions. If it is a vacant property, write the word vacant. If they still live there, a best practice is 2 hours notice, but it's completely up to them. If they want more notice, less notice, if they have pets, have a conversation around this and then write in whatever they want as the showing instructions. As we go down, you're going to see a lot of initial spots. The rule of thumb is do not leave a section blank. They must initial something. They're not going to initial everything. They're going to initial what pertains to the sale of this house. So for example, right here, broker may not submit and market the property, or broker may submit. The majority of the listings that you take, they're going to initial broker may submit and market the property because they want it out there. They want it displayed because that's going to give them more buyers looking at it and more potential for multiple offer scenarios. Again, the word potential, we don't guarantee anything. Now, as we scroll down, same thing, seller authorizes or does not authorize. Most of the time they're going to authorize, but again, this is a conversation and this is going to be something that they determine with you educating them. Here, number 8, consent to discuss other properties during open houses. This is completely up to the seller. They can authorize that or not authorize it. Either way, it's a best practice. They do need to initial something. Now, you will see certain paragraphs, for example, paragraph number 10, where the seller acknowledges that the seller has read and understand. Their initialing that they read the paragraph doesn't mean that they have home security systems. They're simply initialing that they read the paragraph. You're going to see a number of those throughout this 9-page document. Make sure they are not left blank. Number 14, this is one of the most important sections. You absolutely, as an agent, cannot leave this blank. Broker compensation. Now, disclaimer, in the state of Maryland, agent to agents cannot talk about commission with each other. In training sessions and coaching sessions, it can be coached to as to why and how to negotiate. So for purpose of this training right here, we're going to talk about a best practice. Just know that this is simply a best practice. You as the agent determine what you want to put here for your listings. And at any time when you're unsure, please consult with one of your coaches and we can help you. So here you're going to say, in the event of a sale, the compensation to be paid by seller to broker shall be blank. Now, this percentage is not your total percentage. This is the total percentage for both you and the buyer's agent, because you want, obviously, the buyer's agents to bring buyers by. So 6%, this is just an example percentage you choose. That means that a portion of this could be 3.5% goes to you, the listing agent, and 2.5% goes to the buyer agent. That's a best practice out there. Now you'll see 6% of purchase price plus a $4.95 flat fee. Some agents do put a flat fee in here to offset photography and marketing costs. Some choose not to. With Keller Williams Legacy, you choose what is best for you. As coaches, we do coach to putting a flat fee, but again, it's completely your business. It's up to you. The one thing in the state of Maryland you cannot do, so you can waive this, meaning at the appointment, if there are negotiations, you can cross this out and waive the flat fee. What you cannot do is change the flat fee amount depending on who you're working with. So you can't have $295 for somebody, $395 for another person, etc. Once you choose what flat fee you want, that needs to be the number you go with for everybody across the scheme of things. Now, as we scroll down, this paragraph here, if during the period of 90 days, now 90 days is, again, just what some agents do. Some you'll see do 100, some do 120. Most do not do less than 90 days. That's kind of the standard out there. This paragraph, what it's talking about is if during a period of X number of days after termination. So let's say you're working with a seller and the house is listed and buyers are coming through open houses and buyers agents are bringing buyers by to see the home. And then all of a sudden the seller decides to terminate your agreement, basically fire you as their agent. And then you find out, not always easy, but then you find out that one of the buyers that came through during the time it was listed with you went back to this, the seller, the owners, directly to get a better deal. You can go to your broker. That broker will call the other agent's broker to pull out this agreement, see that it's within the 90 days or more, and then determine the best course of action. Doesn't mean that you're getting the full amount, but they'll determine what the best course of action is to be able to help with this. So this paragraph protects you as the agent. Now, as we scroll down, number 15, cooperating with other brokers. This is where you're going to designate what the buyer agent is going to get paid, what commission they're going to have. Standard out there is typically 2.5, but again, that is just simply a best practice, a standard. That does not mean it has to be the number. So you'll see here up top, it was 6%. And then down here, we designate 2.5 of that to the buyer agent. Now, again, as we scroll down through this, very important for you to read every one of these paragraphs, really understand them, just in case your sellers have questions. So you'll see that, again, initial spots, that they read everything. Initialing when it was built, before 78, after 78 to determine whether or not you need to include lead paint disclosure documents. Again, initialing that they read the paragraphs, scrolling down. Seller acknowledges that the property is or is not served by public water, meaning do they pay a monthly or quarterly water sewer charges? Most owners will know whether or not they're paying monthly or quarterly water sewer bills. If they don't know, they're most likely not paying that, so they would initial appropriately or accordingly. Number 21, again, do they authorize or not authorize disclosing different existing offers? Now, if they do not authorize this, that means that you cannot say to another agent whether or not there are other offers or not. Most will absolutely initial authorizes this because they want to drum up multiple offer scenarios potentially. So authorizing you talking about it may allow that to happen. Home warranty. Do they desire one or decline one? It's important as you as an agent to get familiar with home warranties. What is that? What does it mean to buyers? What does it mean to sellers? We have some preferred home warranty representatives in our office that you can connect with, have lunch, talk about what do they offer, what does it mean to a buyer, what does it mean to a seller, how do you talk about it at your appointments to educate your sellers appropriately for them to determine what they want to do. Again, they are the ones deciding this, not you. Now, number 23, notice of property condition disclosure disclaimer. In the state of Maryland, the disclosure disclaimer agreement is almost always required within your listing packet. That's part of that listing checklist that hopefully you've looked at or you'll look at after this video. There are a few exemptions to that rule. If down below you'll see the initial sale of a home, never been occupied, if any of these bottom items occur, okay, you'll see A1, A2, B, C, D, E, etc. If any one of these at the bottom here is in effect, then it is exempt. The majority of your properties that you go to will be non-exempt, meaning you do need to include the disclosure disclaimer. On average, again, this is an average percentage. On average, most of the sales that you'll work as a listing agent for retail, meaning buyers and sellers, are probably going to be about 90% non-exempt as opposed to exempt. But again, look at this to determine if any of these pertain. If one pertains, they are exempt from a disclosure disclaimer statement. Conservation easement, again, are they subject to or are they not subject to? As we move down, getting to know these paragraphs is extremely important. Number 32, you're going to check off the boxes of all the other forms that you're including. Consent for dual agency, lockbox, inclusions, exclusions, etc. You'll see examples on here. This does not mean these are the only ones that you're checking off. Please refer back to the listing checklist as your guideline to what you need to include. Then it's very important, the broker company name. Now, the broker does not sign this. You, as the listing agent, are the authorized representative. You're the one who's going to sign this. And then any seller selling this house is going to sign this. So for example, if you have two individuals who are selling the house together, but let's say they are divorced and they both need to sign this because their both names are on the deed, you'll need to have an appointment with both of them for their signatures to be allowed to officially list this property. Again, this was simply the exclusive right to sell. Please refer to the listing checklist for all the other listing documents that you need to include in this. Congratulations on taking a listing. Any questions, please reach out to your coaches.